It is the cry of my heart to follow you. It is the cry of my heart to be close to you. It is the cry of my heart to follow all of the days of my life.
Welcome to our next study of the street level Messiah. The quality of Jesus we're considering today really goes hand in hand with what we studied last week on compassion. This week we're going to be looking at the aspect of Jesus of him being sensitive. Now, Jody, that's a character trait that's maybe not fondly associated with men. In fact, some men might almost be offended if you use that term regarding them or their life. So why do you think that is? Why do men maybe avoid this concept?
I guess it's probably just the main reason would be a misunderstanding of actually what we mean by it. Sensitive is usually thought of as, or often thought of as being weak or soft or sissified, and so men are completely turned off by that kind of concept or that idea. So the idea of saying that somebody is sensitive, if I'm thinking that way, I don't want to be associated in that kind of terminology or that thought. But just so we're clear, and I want to be specific about this, that when I'm talking about sensitivity in this lesson or Jesus being sensitive, I don't mean that he wore his feelings on his sleeve,
Right.
or that he is just easily offended when somebody says something, looks at him in a certain way. I'm talking about the way he responded. He responded in a sensitive way to others. He was quick and thoughtful. He was tactful. He was careful in the way that he dealt with people. In that sense, he was sensitive to their feelings, their emotions, what they were going through. And so, the passage that at least struck me the most was in Mark chapter 5, and there's a couple of things, or several things actually, going on in this passage that it just seems to kind of be happening all over the place. So the events just seem to happen one after another.
Sure.
As you look at it.
Well, let's even look at just, because I think the introduction of Mark chapter 5 could give us a great review of some of the aspects of Jesus we've covered already. Just to hit it very high level, that he gets off of a boat and a demon approaches him immediately.
Right.
And one of the more famous ones, because maybe it's a legion of demons are all possessing the same guy. And it reminds us of how busy Jesus is. We talked about in the available lesson that you know he's got a mission. He's got only so much time, and he never stops. There's something after another, after another, after another, and it ends with him casting the demons out. And it even tells the young man to go home and tell your people what the Lord has done to you, how He has had compassion on you, which was our last lesson. And that leads us up to what kicks us off in verse 21, our story of today's study. Give us some background on Jairus and the situation that's going on here.
Well, as you look at it, I mean, he's a ruler of the synagogue. He's a man of some kind of substance and means. He would probably be somewhat well known. And it's in verse 21 beginning that after Jesus crosses over, verse 22, behold, one of the rulers of the synagogue came, Jairus by name. And when he saw him, that is Jesus, he fell at his feet and begged him earnestly, saying, my little daughter lies at the point of death. Come lay your hands on her that she may be healed, and she will live. So Jesus went with him, and a great multitude followed him and thronged him. As I look at this and see this situation, this is a tragedy in all respects. Anytime we learn or hear about a child who is sick, especially as the father says here, sick to the point of death. This is a desperate father. And in fact, I'm impressed by the fact that he forgets his prejudices that he would have probably had as a leader of the Jews. Here's this itinerant preacher who's upsetting Jewish people, and yet he will go to him. Jairus is going to go to him. He forgets his dignity, because it says he throws himself down at the feet of Jesus, begging Jesus to help in regard to his daughter. And then there's also this aspect that he may have even set aside his friends, people that he would have associated with, because what he's heard about Jesus, he can do something maybe for my daughter. And he is a desperate father on the move. So Jesus says, yes, I'll come with him. Surely he's happy. He's hurrying Jesus along. Hurry, let's get there. My daughter's sick, and you can do something to help her.
Yeah, and this is the part of the story, I guess, that hits me, that if I'm going to interject myself in this story, all right, let's say Alicia calls the office, here you are, and Tay-Tay has fallen and broken her arm. and we're riding together, and we're going to go to the hospital. And here we are, and I'm a pretty calm guy. Yeah. I mean, I imagine I'm like this guy. I mean, falling down, losing sense of dignity, kind of grabs me. He's not acting like a normal guy would. And so, okay, here we are. We're on the way to the hospital. You're driving, and we see a couple with a flat tire, and you decide, hey, let's change their flat tire. I mean, I'm guessing if I'm Jairus,
Right.
Jesus, we got to go.
Yeah, that's right. Hurry up. We got to get to the house and or to the hospital, like you're saying, in that regard. That's what I see as this happening, where this whole thing kind of abruptly stops.
That's right.
And the whole crowd's moving along, everything just stops because of this event that you'll be looking at specifically in your small groups. But that seems to be this whole abrupt situation of, wait a minute, if Jesus is being sensitive, isn't he going to just tell the crowd, sorry, I've got pressing things, I've got to go help this man, I've got to go take care of his daughter? But he doesn't. He stops and he deals with this woman one-on-one. It's kind of an impressive thing.
So now as we throw it back to you guys, and you guys focus on this interruption, and in your notes, you're going to be discussing more in detail Jesus interacted with a desperate woman in a desperate situation herself, and shows great sensitivity there. We really want you to dig in there and go deep, because how does the story end?
Yeah, because now when you've got this situation of this desperate woman who has interrupted this desperate father, it says at verse 35, while he was still speaking to her, that is, then some came from the ruler of the synagogue's house, and they said, your daughter's dead. Why trouble the master any further? Just the devastation that father had to feel. And yet Jesus doesn't say, oh, well, sorry. I've taken care of this woman and just time ran out. He actually says, no, don't be afraid at verse 36, only believe. And he goes on to the house, and he raises that child, actually does even a greater miracle in that sense. Rather than preventing her from dying, he brings her back to life. And it's just a beautiful picture, again, of his sensitive nature, in touch with this father and the desperation he must have felt, but he's also in touch with this woman who abruptly interrupts this whole flow of discussion and movement in there. It's just a really great picture, I think.
So some of the synonyms of sensitive are thoughtful, to be considerate, to be aware, and that's the picture we're getting of Jesus here.
Right.
Seeing people where they are and having a heart for people. And so as we turn the study back over to you guys to go into depth with the story of this woman with this flow of blood, take your time on that red box section. As it's not just about, hey, this is great that Jesus was that way, but what we're supposed to do with this, and what we're called as disciples to do, is be more like Jesus ourselves. So focus on ways that you can be more aware, more thoughtful, more sensitive to those around you, and may we all be more like the Master.
It is the cry of my heart to follow you. It is the cry of my heart to be close to you. It is the cry of my heart to follow all of the days of my life. It is the cry of my heart to follow you. It is the cry of my heart to be close to you. It is the cry of my heart to follow all of the days of my life. Teach me your holy ways, O Lord, so I can walk in your truth. Teach me your holy ways, O Lord, and make me wholly devoted to you. It is the cry of my heart to follow you. It is the cry of my heart to be close to you. It is the cry of my heart to follow all of the days of my life. Open my eyes so I can see the wonderful things that you do. Open my heart up more and make it wholly devoted to you.